What's up, y'all? Welcome to Try's World. It's Friday the 13th, March 13th, 2026. Sort of a vlog, journal, podcast. I don't know. It's all the above. So I've been posting a little later because after the workday, I need to take a little break and eat and just chill for a minute, rest my eyes, rest my back. I'm getting old, so I can't be pulling like 10 to 11 hour days, so I got to be looking after my health, and maybe I'll even record less. We'll see. But my shorts yesterday didn't perform as well. I posted them all at the same time because every time I post any shorts, I used to post a short and then see how it does and then post the other shorts, but are produced by Riverside automatically, and now I'm just but yesterday I just posted them all at the same time and it seemed like it froze the system or something. But or people just didn't like my content, or people actually took my advice and just didn't pay attention to the everyday fluctuations in the market, which is great. If that was the lesson and that's what folks ended up doing, more power to them. So of course my actual podcast, the core podcast, continues to not get that many views, but that's okay. I continue to pick up subscribers and things of that nature. I did talk about credit card debt. What I didn't add was it's good. Credit cards are a great way to build credit if you use it for what it's good for. A 30-day loan, interest-free, you get points on it, so that's the good thing, and then you pay it off. And you also build credit for yourself. If you have a business and you have a business credit card, it'll do the same thing for your business if you have a business credit card for your business. So it shows that you can borrow money, short-term money, on a credit card and pay it back. And so it shows that you have some type of financial responsibility and sense of responsibility, so that you could build your credit that way. I actually don't have any notes today. It's Friday, so I thought it has been a busy week. I mean, it's the same stuff in the market as far as that. It just continues to drift slowly lower. And it's hard to tell what's going to happen tomorrow. I think if somebody had a crystal ball, they certainly wouldn't tell you about it. They just take advantage of it themselves and be super wealthy and go and take advantage of every single market sell-off or market gain. But that's just not how it works. It's really difficult to predict short-term movements in the market. But yeah, I've been talking about that quite a bit, and hopefully my viewers and my audience get that concept. And I did talk about compounding your money and the value of saving money and how you can compound over long periods of time. Every dollar saved can potentially be many multiples of what it is today if you invest for the long run. But other than that, I was talking about the actual business itself and managing a business, and it's filing business taxes. And it was just a hot mess, not yesterday, but in terms of due dates, because LLCs, at least in California, are due the fourth month of the same tax year, whereas partnerships are due 3 months after the end of the tax year. So I found that out the other day, and if you do have an LLC or any type of business entity and you happen to pay taxes in California, which you do, you have to pay taxes every year, you should go online, get a PIN, and they have a chat feature online, so you don't have to call in during peak time. Because like I said, 2 days ago, I couldn't get through. Literally, if it's too busy, they'll just tell you they're too busy. But I actually got through. I just called it a few times, got through, and I had the option of leaving my number and having them call back later, but I didn't take it, so I sat on hold for an eternity, and it ended up having to just find out that chat feature and hanging up, really, because it was way too long. So just some advice there, and just some insight into what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. It's warm, yeah, not unbearable, but it's going to be up there soon. So yeah, I did taxes this week, and of course personal taxes are now almost due, so there's always something happening, something going on. And yeah, personal expenses, personal taxes, so yeah, that'll be due April 5th, so remember to do those or file extensions. And I was also talking about cars yesterday, and like I said, I don't have anything against cars or people with nice cars or anything like that. It's just obviously if you could buy one without a loan or pay it off as quickly as you can, especially before getting other loans or trying to qualify for loans, might be a good idea, because I've literally seen it take out somebody's credit profile. Just be careful with that, and it doesn't show up on your credit score or nothing. It just shows up when you're trying to qualify for a loan. Just keep that in mind. Bam Adebayo is 83. lot of hate. He's getting a lot of hate. I think because he passed up Kobe. It's like, well, how could you pass up Kobe? Records were meant to be broken, people. I know it's Bam, and nobody sees Bam in the same vicinity as Kobe and Wilt. But Bam had a heck of an opportunity, and he took it, and I don't blame him. And, Kobe, rest in peace. But, hey, records were meant to be broken. And at a certain age, if you're not winning anymore, because Bam's 29, he's still in his prime, but at a certain age, it just seems like the older players nowadays just seem like Kobe was doing that too. You're just chasing records at that point in legacy. Many times you're just no longer winning, so that's the unfortunate thing. Yeah, I'm watching Starting Five on Netflix right now too. I watched the first one, and then the second one, the season got canceled, but you got clips of Shea in there saying, no, I would never wear a second outfit to a game, like twice. It's just like, I read the comments on that comment, under his comment, and I was just cracking up. But he does sound kind of like a spoiled brat, and I guess people don't necessarily want to see NBA players spending lavishly and talking about how lavish their lives are. But I guess Wemby will be here next week, and I paid to see him twice, and he was supposedly injured both times. The second time he had the blood clot. The first time they just rested him because he was a rookie, and they had already played in SAC, and they were playing in SAC like 2 nights later. I don't know, he felt like that was enough for him, so he sat. I like Wemby. I think he's a generational talent. He's so valuable that he can make an impact in 20 minutes. They only need him on the floor for 20 minutes. The last thing you want to see happen to him is he sustained injuries. But I think market-wise, things that matter that I can think of, obviously a lot of people are talking about the conflict in Iran and how long that's supposed to be, how protracted that's going to be, and things of that nature. And some people are hoping for a quick exit, and as the administration has said, and as the administration has done many other times with his tariffs and things like that. And so when he does that, obviously the market shoots right back up. And so I think a lot of people are hoping for that. And we'll see if that happens. But it may or may not happen. But I think right now the market's hoping for it, because that's what's been communicated. And so if it becomes more protracted, and it's just, I guess at some point, what's considered contained. The U.S. pretty much has declared victory, I would say, more or less. I mean, they have it just seems like a few things left they want to accomplish as far as weakening the Iranian military and strategic targets still, but I don't know if it's that or they're responding to Iran continuing to... They bombed a ship, a tanker, I guess a Thai tanker, oil tanker the other day going through the Strait of Hormuz. It's hard to tell, and I don't think it's tricky. But already you're seeing it, like I said, you're already seeing it in certain parts of the market. If you're a stock picker, you're already seeing it in certain parts of the market. So I know the overall market hasn't, not a lot's happened to it, but underneath there's definitely been some movement of stocks. Could be an opportunity right now in some areas of the market. Yeah, but keep in mind, it could be anything. And like I said, if you see an inexpensive stock that you're in and that you like that has gone down, it is an opportunity for you to put more money towards that name if it's a high conviction name. So that's how I think of it. And yeah, still getting a lot of feedback on the Shohei contract. Still getting a lot of feedback on whether the NBA is rigged, at least on TikTok. A lot of chats. But yeah, as far as for me managing, as far as managing the business and stuff, that would be my vlog. It's now working on, I guess, personal taxes, getting ahead of that, trying to get as far ahead of that as possible. And in California, you're granted an automatic extension for partnership tax returns extension, but for LLCs, for partnerships doing business in California, I have to chat with the FTB about that, because I'm pretty sure they don't get an automatic extension. I don't even know if they can file for an extension, because if a partnership's simply doing business in California, that's interesting. Because either way, a partnership that's not in California but doing business in California has to pay the annual tax. So it's like, why not just register in California and get an automatic extension? Because it's kind of a gray area for partnerships that aren't registered in California. I just have to ask. It just takes forever to get a question through, and I've had to take care of just one thing at a time, but that's just something that I'm going to put onto my to-do list right now. As far as personally, still hitting the gym. I try to take care of that in the morning, and I stretch. At my age, I stretch for so long now, but I'm trying to lift a tiny bit heavier every now and then. I'll throw in a little bit heavier weight just to see if I can still do it. Lower reps, heavier weight. Usually nowadays I'm doing pretty high reps because I'm fine with weighing, it's weighing less, lean muscle, stuff like that. So, and I did read in the Wall Street Journal though that crunches are bad for you. Can you believe that? Like, so they do in the army, they do, or the Marines, I think they do planks now. So they'll time themselves on doing planks, and there's a whole video on how to do proper planks. Apparently, if you can do it for like 3 minutes, it's like a really big accomplishment. But in the gym, there's those crunch things. So now I'm like, are back extensions bad for you? Because back extensions actually really help me keep strength in my lower back. But I'll ask. But because the gyms, I'm assuming leg lifts are fine, but the gym has those sit-up machines where you can like hold the handles and it supports your back, so you can take pressure off your back that way. But no, I'll never ever do the decline crunches anymore. I'm never going to do those again, mainly because I started doing it with heavy, and I started doing it with weight as well. And I don't know if it's because I do it the day after my back extensions, but after that my lower back hurts so bad, and I used a 25-pound weight to do decline sit-ups, and my lower back hurt so bad. I was like, you know what? I can't do that much weight, but now I'm just going to cut it out. I'm going to cut that exercise out completely. But yeah, I'm in the gym so early. I was about to start shooting hoops and like seeing if I could make some content or something. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I think it would be cool. I see some people trying to, like, fitness influencers shooting hoops and stuff like that. Like I said, I mean, my goal is not to be an influencer, just to make that clear. Yeah, that's definitely not the goal. My goal is I think a big goal of mine is just to provide an alternative to what's out there in terms of financial knowledge, financial media, what people talk about business-wise. Because I am so fed up. If I was the financial media, like a legit one, I'd just not always bring up politics, because there's people who really force that discussion, and they'll do it 24/7 with business, even though it's not relevant. But some people, I mean, Bloomberg has a whole section or a whole episode called Balance of Power, and that's all they talk about. Fox News, Fox Business, every time I tune in, that's all they're talking about. They won't talk about a company's earnings for the life of them, and if they do, they'll just like regurgitate what the company did. Actually, I don't know the last time I heard them talk about an earnings report, to be quite honest. So they did talk about, of course, they'll talk about the Fed and interest rates and things of that nature, which when I was tuning into Maria Bartiromo today, they were talking about Fed wash and the likelihood that people are going to lower or raise interest rates. That is relevant based on how things are going now. And now that oil prices, and then the other big news is Fed Powell, it just pisses me off how they held a press conference about it, but essentially the charges against him were dismissed. But the whole press conference, it's so angry. And this is why people are angry. It's because the representative of the Trump administration was sitting up there basically super pissed off, like, based on the statutes, we can find charges based on rumor, based on blah, 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 based on anything. And this judge is requiring to bring charges a crime beyond a reasonable doubt. How dare him? Or something to that effect. And I'm like, holy moly, what is she saying? And she's so angry, and so I get why his base is so angry all the time. It's because that's what they do. I mean, they're very, I guess, good at pissing people off and scaring the hell out of people, making this sense of urgency right now. And if it doesn't happen, that is going to happen poorly. We're going to lose our country or something like that. Crime will fester, something like that. So it's really, really concerning when you have leaders who don't know how to lead. They run around like chickens with their heads cut off. And so that's why I didn't want to get into that. But that was the other big news today, is that was dismissed as completely bogus charges against what should be an independent Fed, which that was Elizabeth Warren's worry with Kevin Warsh, is he's not independent. Or at least, and so there was an exchange between Elizabeth Warren and Sarah Eisen, my new favorite anchor on CNBC. She's horrible, by the way. They will never ask me to be on CNBC because of how much I despise Sarah Eisen, okay? That's the best way to say it. She will force, I don't know if it's her voice or her the abruptness of when she interrupts people, and she just inserts her opinion in everything, which is a very conservative opinion. And I think it just makes up for her lack of understanding of business. That's what I'm saying. Like, people always use politics as like Jake Paul. Now he's losing in fights, so now he goes to politics. It's like, Kid Rock, no more career, it's declining. Now he goes to politics. There's this comedian, I don't know his name, Rob Schneider, no longer relevant. Now he goes to politics. It's just like, these folks are reviving their careers by going into politics. And it's like, I guess it works, I don't know. Or they have nothing else to do. But Sarah Eisen I can't even watch anymore. I switched the channel because of how political it gets. Oh, all she said was, Fed Warsh, my concern with him, I'd just like to see him disagree with the president. What does he disagree with as far as the president is concerned? And then Sarah Eisen goes, well, that was the case with Biden in the Biden years. And it was just so shocking and kind of stupid that I think Elizabeth Warren was like taken off guard and was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Jay Powell was the Fed chair throughout Biden's term, he was selected by Donald Trump. What in the world are you talking about? Why would you? And so to me, I was just like, and that may not be correct. Double check me on those facts, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. And I was just thinking, and that did not enter Elizabeth Warren's mind because she was as shocked as I was shocked as the viewer. I was just sitting there like, what the hell did she just say? And that's the only reaction you can have on national television. And that's what the position these extremists essentially put you in. Like these extremists on the right who get radicalized by the right. We have a very radical right now. I mean, it's funny because YouTube's encouraging me to take hotter takes. Like, yeah, your viewers like it when you take hot takes. I don't care if it's a hot take or not. It's one of those things where it's tries worlds. I say what's on my mind, and if it's appropriate, if I think it's helpful, if I think it's somewhat constructive, then I'll say it. But the point is the retort was so uninformed, it was so sudden, and it was so rude that you almost cannot respond to it. It's like, who's going to put you in a more untenable position? And that's what we're doing now. It's like, to the point where we can't talk anymore. We can't converse because somehow the conversation veers to, well, you're an idiot. Oh, I'm an idiot? You're an idiot. And the only way you reply is rudeness, complete and total rudeness. And it's like, and so that's the danger with getting away from intelligent dialogue. We have the ability to reason. We have brains. Let's use them. We got to use them. And I've just, in my view, the more violent people tend to get in short order with no reason, the shorter the fuse they have and the more willingness they have to be violent, the more I found their less willingness, or they have either no ability or a lower ability or no willingness to reason and talk through things. But in this day and age, I feel like that's the only thing that's going to keep us out of complete chaos. We have the capability to wipe ourselves off the map nowadays. Intelligent dialogue is one of the only things we have remaining to prevent that. Aside from, of course, what's happening now is everybody's building up their militaries, and the hope is that it doesn't, the whole hope there is that it stays within the bounds of smaller munitions, machine guns, tanks, and every single type of bomb except a hydrogen or nuclear bomb, and keep those without that bomb from having it. And those are the people you attack. But no nuclear nation should go after another nuclear nation. But the buildup of arms is simply to engage in warfare all the way up to, or hopefully before, the use of nuclear bombs. But at the end of the day, what does that involve? It involves, fine, some military, I guess, in the hope that somehow somebody stops. But we've seen, war, it gets very messy. Once the cat is out of the bag and once those bombs start dropping, once the lives are lost, it gets dangerous. It gets very, very unpredictable. So I know a lot of people on the right are like, hey, I'm tough. I'm a UFC guy. I know how to fight. I know how to shoot. Bang, bang. That's tough. But it's like, at some level, at some point, that no longer works. So we have to have better tools. And that tool is our ability to reason, negotiate, talk with one another, and de-escalate. We can't have belligerence on the world stage. I just see it happening too often. And it's extremely dangerous. It shouldn't happen. It really shouldn't happen. We've become extremely bellicose on the world stage now. Unapologetically so. And we expect flowers in return. Well, people are talking tough, and this is why military people don't get elected into, lifetime military people. They're too militaristic. They're too willing to use arms at every turn. That's why people like electing civilians who understand what peaceful societies consist of, or have spent most of their time in peaceful societies, and not out there fighting and killing all the time. Not to say that military experience is bad, but that's why I think a lot of presidents are not top military people, like lifetime military people, at least in recent memory. And I think, the last it's been a long time since we've had somebody who's like was the leader of the military and then became president. There's a reason why that doesn't happen often nowadays. We've seen it in nations, in other civilizations, in other societies. They're all too willing to continue to fight no matter what, and that's just a recipe for disaster in today's world. Anyhow, so that was the other big piece of news that came out, besides, and obviously some stuff on individual companies, but I don't really speak on those. And then I talked about the Iran war and how that continues to be, it's really a war of public relations right now. Whoever, I guess the new leader is not issuing statements on camera, so Pete Hegseth is saying that he's probably disfigured and he's probably weakened, and it's becoming a war of words and marketing and PR, and that's important too. The public relations campaign is pretty important too, but you start to lose on that public relations campaign when one of the first military strikes hit a school, and it's just the same thing. It's just like the first thing that happens is a denial. The president actually said Iran might have done it to themselves and used Tomahawk missiles on themselves. So I don't know. Obviously this preliminary investigation has taken a while, but the results preliminarily are that the United States made an error, a very grave error, and that has already put the U.S. behind the 8 ball, and it makes it really hard to think that they've got their T's crossed and their I's dotted, as this administration says they do. And so they're getting pissed off when CNN writes a bad article about them, and yet they forget about the 175 kids that passed, mostly kids. I think that's a shame that happened, and that the first thing the administration does is deny it. So very disappointing, and hoping we do better. I'm hoping we do a lot better. As far as markets are concerned, like I said, really hard to predict what's going to happen. Things are ugly right now, though. I will say that. I think a lot uglier than anticipated, and it almost seems like part of it was, it could have been obviously a distraction campaign as well, to distract away from the Epstein files and things of that nature. And part of it could just be to show that, hey, in the same vein, hey, look what I can do. You think you're going to implicate me with these Epstein things and put pressure on me? Well, I'm going to bring us into a war, and I have the power to, drag us into wars and do damage. And if I want to implement a draft, maybe I will. I have all types of power. Look at me. And I guess part of that could be intimidating and scary to people who want to oppose him. Okay, you're going to oppose me? I'll bomb another country. I'll waste more money. Been hoping that that's not the case, but Iran is obviously, we don't want them getting nuclear capabilities. And it is a dangerous regime, and they did shoot down a bunch of their protesters, their own people. So these are people who don't care about their own people. But that uprising didn't happen, as the president was hoping for. Doesn't look like we can do much to stop attacks in the Strait of Hormuz. How much of that is reflected in prices already for certain industries or the stock market overall? I'm not sure. I will say, though, and I said this yesterday, it was already difficult to find really, really well-priced domestic equities. It was already difficult after 3 years of on average 20+% returns. Sometimes things are so good in the stock market that it could have been a good news and stocks would have dropped, let alone bad news. So sometimes it's just about valuation. It has nothing to do with everything that's going on and all that. Not to say that, not to absolve responsibility or anything like that, but at the end of the day, I'm big on valuations and what that means for as far as security selection going forward. So that's all I look at. That's all that really concerns me as far as investments and investing. So I'll leave it at that. Hope everybody has a great week. Oh yeah, Elisa, I guess her name is Elisa, like Lisa. Elisa Liu. Seeing all the posts of her celebration, and it's awesome. It's right here. The tickets sold out fast. I'm wondering now who even had the tickets, who even had a chance to get the tickets. But such a great moment for Oakland, especially Oakland. All the sports teams left. All the professional sports teams left Oakland. And so to have somebody in athletics represent Oakland. What an honor for Oakland, and what a special moment for Oakland. And then I was looking at the mascots yesterday, and it was the Oakland Ballers, which is their sort of baseball team. It was San Jose Sharks, Valkyries. I don't think the Giants have a mascot. They do, that sea otter or whatever the heck it is. But I think there's so much bad things as far as the A's leaving and all that the Ballers showed up and that was enough. And then obviously the Niners, I didn't see the Niners mascot. So just some observations. Part of the whole baseball debacle was partly because of, I guess, the Niners too. So, but then Kehlani performed, so that was cool. So yeah, I mean, some happy moments. And her family, Elisa's family, was apparently very, very liberal or active on the Democrat side. Not very liberal, but from what I understand, Democrats. She's attended protests and she believes in immigrant rights and things like that. And I love her swag. I love Kehlani's swag. Oakland has so much swag. I thought it was great. I mean, their celebration, there's a lot of dancing on stage, all that stuff. So great moment for Oakland. And then obviously San Francisco had Eileen Gu, but Oakland, the vibe was completely different. It was really cool. So I enjoyed watching that. Glad that she's got so many fans and it seems like she's doing well. And I feel like she's going to be set for life either way. So did read an Otani article about his contract, and it is about half present value. His contract's worth about half. I think it might be even lower depending on his opportunity costs, but his agent was all super confident, was like, yeah, well, he's probably making $100 million in endorsements a year, and it's not about the money. But still, like, again, my whole thesis behind that is you wouldn't it's one thing to like want to be around a championship team, but it's another to give up potentially $500 million or 300 million or 400, whatever it is, 3, 4, 500 million, probably around 300 million on the low side. Unless you thought that was to me, they thought it was a safer bet to do that. That's why they did it. And it ended up costing 2, 3, 400 million. And it was all for the promise. I think part of it too, yes, we can say, hey, he wanted to build a championship team and all that, but part of the appeal was in 10 years after his playing days are over, or when he gets older, he's going to be 39 by the time his contract expires. He'll still be getting paid that money for another 10 years. Almost like make as much money as he can now, and then he'll still have some income coming in, a lot of income coming in after his playing years, because he's so wealthy now. And it's just it's just so convoluted. That's what I keep saying. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I don't care if you're trying to win. I don't care if you argue it's taxes. All that together is still not 400 million. It still doesn't make sense. And it only makes sense to someone who maybe, wanted that security of having money get paid out 10 years later for another 10 years, like almost a semi-pension. I don't know. To see income, not have to touch the income right now, but have it come in later down the line to provide some income after his playing years. And so, like I said, almost like a pension or something. I don't know, but I can't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. That's the best way to put it. But anyhow, all right, y'all, it's been a busy week. I hope everybody has a great weekend and happy investing, and I hope everybody stays happy and healthy as well. Take care.